Thank you for joining us on Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, number 104. I'm your host, Greg Gaub. Got a great gang going here today. We got Mike, Luff, Wayne, Don, Pete, John, Leo, Dewan, J-Rod, Martin, Big Den, Bob, David, John, Iceman, Frank, and other people. We're going to talk about slot cars. Does anybody have any show and tell they want to share today? If so, raise your virtual hand and I'll make sure that we get around to you. And if you don't know how to raise your virtual hand, you do that by tapping your screen, tapping more, tapping reactions, tapping raise hand. Or if you're on a computer, just tap reactions and raise hand, or click on reactions and raise hand. I'll try to catch your physically waving your hand, but I can't guarantee I'll catch you. Maybe John will catch you and remind me to call on you. He's always helpful in that regard. And for the perennial question that I get, if you want to join a Zoom chat live, use your Googling skills with a Z to search for Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, and you will find numerous slot car forum threads and Facebook posts about the chat. And each Monday or Tuesday, I will post the invitation, which includes the day, which is always Wednesday, and the time, which is either early in the day or late in the day, depending on your time zone, and the link, so you'll know when the chat is happening and can click it. I apologize in advance to anybody who cannot attend one or both of the shows, but there is no such thing as a time that is good for everyone, so it is what it is. Hopefully you can make a chat and join us. We welcome all kinds of slot car racing, from HO to 124th, home racing to commercial, hard bodies, Lexan bodies, brass chassis, plastic chassis. If you pull a trigger and make a car go around a track, come join us. It's a lot of fun. Now, with all that out of the way, John has been patiently waiting to be called on. Take it away, John.
Well, thank you. I hope you guys aren't too bored with this latest little scenery project I've been working on. But let me just show you. Here's, I started casting this Alpha Duetto Spider in colors, which is really kind of cool. There's the first sort of pull in red, which kind of came out neat. And sort of, you also sort of mix the resin for the under tray of the car as well as the doors.
How do you make the colors? Is that a dye or something?
It is, yeah. It's actually it comes in this little bottle. It's called True Strong or Too Strong or something. It's made by Smooth On, and yeah, you put in like a couple of drops and you get that wonderful red resin. And the great thing is when you sort of mold it, you can see all the resin that squishes all over the place, and it looks like something out of Halloween. But it's very, very cool. And then you can actually
it's not blood, is it?
No, it's not. No. So I also did one in yellow as well. And here I apologize, I didn't complete the cars for our chat, but here's where they are right now, and all the parts that I guess are also part of the car itself. So I've got one in red, one in yellow, and I did the panel lines. Here are the doors, and they've been painted as well. There's the bumpers. I still have to do the turn indicators, dashboards, interior, rear lights, grills, steering wheel. And I like the yellow turned out really quite nicely as well. And that's right out of the mold. I mean, I'm amazed at how smooth it is. So it looks pretty cool.
When you say steering wheel, John, I mean, are you casting those little things or?
Yes.
Or...
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's every part, including there's the clear. I don't know if you can see with my cursor here, but there's the windshields as well. And I painted the surround, so that's in clear, and the rear bumpers and so forth. But what I'm really getting excited about is, I'm sorry, let me pull that back, is just how nicely the colors have turned out. I think these will be quite neat to put around the track.
Is that the old round tail Spider?
Oh yes, it is. I'm sorry, I don't know. Yeah, you can see it there. Yeah, it's the Graduate. Yeah, so I've asked my daughter. Someone suggested
it must be before the Graduate if it's a round tail.
Oh, that is exactly.
Had the chocolate tail.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's actually one thing my daughter was wondering about. I was trying to show her pictures of Dustin Hoffman and ask her if she could like quickly do a Dustin Hoffman head. So that's it. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is I'm sure you folks are aware of a toy company called Mark's Toys. They were like the largest toy company in the world in the 50s, 60s, I think early 70s. And they actually made some things for slot car tracks. And I didn't know if you folks were aware of this. And I got into an email conversation with, I don't know if you remember Philip. He was doing a Suzuka track. A routed Suzuka track. He joined us a couple of times, and he says that he hasn't had time lately to join us. But I just wanted to share. They had some amazing sculptors doing figures during the 60s, and most of their figure sculpting was done with, well, army men like this. But what's really cool is they actually had a pit crew, and I happen to have, I guess, a couple of the pit crew figures here, and these were from Mark's Toys, and they're 1/32 scale. So I think that's the next thing I really might sort of start thinking about casting. I mean, they're really unique. I don't know why this chap has his head wrapped up like he was in the Civil War. I've never seen anyone sort of wrap their head in a tourniquet like that, walking through a pit. But the flagman is really interesting. There's the, I mean, how many different pitboard guys can you use? And this is someone with, I guess, binoculars. Although if you really, you can almost make that look like a modern video camera, I suppose. And then someone at the front of the car. But these are really cool. And of course, I just happen to have a couple. But yeah, it's really interesting. So I just thought I'd share that as well. I'm on a bit of a scenery kick. So
yeah, the more figurine possibilities out there, the better.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's it.
Awesome. Good stuff. Anybody got questions for John before we move on? Seeing and hearing none. I forgot to mention earlier, time for another contest. Google sent me some ad revenue, so we're going to give something away. So as usual, think about what you want to be the giveaway item, sub $100, and how we're going to have people enter. So if you're watching this video, stick around. John, did you still have anything else to go? Okay, so Don had his virtual hand up. What you want to show and tell today, John? Don, sorry.
Okay. John mentioned Mark's in the slot car. This is one of their 1/24 scale cars that they used to produce.
Very cool.
And
That's in nice condition too.
I've always been a favorite of the Chaparrals, and here's Cox's rendition.
That's a classic. That's a classic.
And my newest acquisition to my Chaparral collection is this one. I just got this today.
Now, is it that's the MMRC
That's the
reissue of the
MMRC,
monogram, right?
Yes, Very
Weird
nice.
that they put those 5-spoke wheels on it.
That part that's the one thing I noticed I didn't like was the wheels, but anyway.
That's easy to change though, Don.
Oh yeah.
Is that normally so high off the ground? I mean, I see that the guide is on the plinth, but even the wheels look pretty low. Like
There's quite a spacer, and the front axle has a bit of movement.
okay.
Yeah. You can see the size
Yeah,
of
I
the
think
spacer.
when you put them
underneath
on
it.
the track, it'll look a little better.
Okay, yeah, because the guide is stuck on the plinth.
Not much, but a little.
Yeah, Don, if you could, can you shift that over so that the guide plops down into the slot? Maybe it'll
The spacer that's
holding it up.
underneath.
Okay, so it's not the guide; it's
Let
the
it go
spacer.
down in there,
Gotcha. Okay.
and it's basically just got a screw in it.
Yeah. Yep. Good looking car.
And
Yeah,
then
something else. Yeah.
my other acquisition,
The NSR.
Very
beautiful
nice.
running car. I got
Angle
the
winder or sidewinder?
angle winder.
Angle winder. Okay. Wow.
And those have a flexible rear wing.
Oh yes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's time that everybody did that, really.
Absolutely.
Very nice car to drive. And then my newest project that I'm working on,
Oh, Pioneer.
Pioneer Legends.
Nice. Gonna put some yellow on there.
what's that?
Gonna put some Sunoco logos on there and some yellow.
Oh, we're thinking about it.
Woohoo!
I love my Pioneers.
They are nice cars. They're fun.
All I've gotten done is the body shell painted so far and the chassis built. So if you get one of these, I mean, you have to put every single piece together on it.
Yeah, the kit. Yeah.
The chassis
Yeah.
doesn't come pre-built or anything, so. But that's all fun to put together.
But that's
And
how
that-
it was in the 60s too. You buy a monogram or a Cox or a Revell, you put it all together. Every screw nut and bolt.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Don. Anybody got any questions or anything for Don before we move on?
Don, was your chassis nice and straight and true
On which one?
on your Pioneer Legends?
I haven't really got to the point to worry about that. It does not look like the body fits on the chassis very well.
Yeah. What I noticed on my Pioneer Legends is that if you tighten the screws, you're tweaking that body like nobody's business. So you basically got to make sure that all of the screws are not fully tightened, and maybe back them off even more than you think you should, because if you don't back them off enough, you're tweaking the chassis.
Right. Well, I know the rear body post is probably about a 1/16 of an inch away from the chassis,
Yeah.
and it's tight.
Yeah.
So you can't screw it all the way down. It'll bend the rear of the chassis.
Yeah. I think basically when I saw that what was happening, I saw that the front two screws could go snug and it would be okay. And then the back screw, I would basically screw it down until I saw the chassis move towards the body. And then I was like, okay, back it off a little bit.
Well, I don't know if you can see it or not, but if you look, you can see that there is a slight angle going across the bottom
Yep.
that's black there, and that is because of what you're talking about.
Yeah. And that's not loose. It's basically just at the point where it's not getting pinched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a white kit that I was assembling not long ago, and I noticed the chassis looked a little funky. So I put it together as a roller, put it on a test block, and the front left tire was 2 to 3 millimeters off the surface of the block. So I sent Pioneer an email asking for a replacement, and they very graciously sent me 2 replacements that are both nice and flat. So I changed those out, and the car is loads of fun to drive now.
Yeah. To anybody out there, what I would say in general is that it happens, right? You're just because of the nature of injection molding and how it works, it's going to happen. The judgment on a company is not whether or not you get the occasionally twisted chassis. It's how they handle it when you contact them about it.
Right.
And I think Jules absolutely nailed it. He didn't have to send you 2, but he did.
No, and I put a post on Slot Forum, thumbs up to Pioneer. So yeah, they came through.
There's a guy here in Dallas, Mark Rogers, who is taking those Pioneer Legends and doing a brass bottom on them, and it really is kind of cool. I'll try to get us one for next week and show them off and let you see what it's like.
Or even just share some pictures if he's got a Facebook or website.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Awesome, good stuff. Anybody else got anything for Don before we move on? All right, we're good to go. Mr. Roberts, take it away, Bob.
Okay, I've got some photos to share, but I've not done this before. So I take it, I click on share screen.
Yep, and then
And
you
then
share,
them up.
then you share the program that your pictures are in. So you'll have to open your pictures first,
Okay,
or when you share, you can choose to share your entire computer screen, but that can be risky depending on what else is open. You might dox yourself.
all right. Let's try this. You seeing anything there? Or?
After you click share, you get a pop-up of different programs to share. You click the program and then you click share one more time. And we should then see a pop-up of you attempting to share. Usually what people forget is to open the program first so that they can pick it. And then that final clicking of share after they pick the program they want to share.
Open a program, I can't get back to the share screen.
Yep. Then you come back to Zoom. Alt tab will get you there. Or, click on your tabs.
All right, let me get my. All right.
Don't worry, we've all been here.
All right. So I hit Alt Tab.
The Alt tab lets you switch between programs, so you should be able to switch back to Zoom by pressing Alt tab 1 or 2 or 3 times in order to get back to Zoom. I'm assuming you're on Windows, sorry.
For $11.95, John Kitt will put a video together for everyone.
Yeah, I think so. Does anybody see that?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Could I suggest? Yeah. Could I suggest to Bob that if he sort of downsizes his screen, with it rather than having it at full screen, he should be able to see his programs along his taskbar, so he could flick between them.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion too. Thanks, Big Den. Hey, Bob, go ahead and keep trying. We'll move to Big Den, and maybe he'll be able to finish up while you get that figured out. Go ahead, Big Den, and then we'll get to Bob whenever he figures it out.
Yeah. Okay, fellas. Just a few quick pictures from me today. I've been, in sort of modeler mode over the last couple of months when fuel prices hit the roof and beyond.
Yeah.
So I'll just do a share screen. And it looks like we're live there.
Yep, good to go. Firestone
Yep.
61.
Yeah, I've had, this is a sort of a snap kit Pontiac Gto, about 69 model, I think, and I've had these decals sitting around for years, which were from the old K&B earlier model Pontiac. So I thought I'll whip it onto this. I'm building up a muscle car for our local club to replace my Pioneer, which I flogged off on eBay for for an extraordinary price, I thought. So that's just a couple of pictures of that, just with the Pato's decals, of course.
Who was the manufacturer of the model, did you say?
It's it's somebody's kit.
It's now a Revell snap kit. It was originally a monogram, but it's a Revell snap kit.
That's it. Yeah. Now the next one, the color, the livery mightn't be to everyone's taste, but this is also a snap kit. Did you get that one, Greg?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is also a snap kit of a Cobra, Shelby Cobra that I'm building up for a class in Hobart that they call the Narrow Can-Am, and that wasn't any official series, but these particular class, they raced them down there with a maximum body, with a maximum track width of 55 millimeters. So this one will fit the bill nicely. Again, Pato's decals that I've had, laying around for eons, and they still were remarkably good, although sometimes the roundels would curl a bit. And the last one is for Dewan. I was watching last week in catch-up mode. They're talking about, keeping your Ninko front axles in place so they don't, axles didn't wobble. I found these some years ago at our lake. We've got a company over here called J-Car Electronics. And the ID of these hex nuts is almost exactly 2.5 millimeters, which is the Ninko measurement. So, if you glue these to the side of the chassis and you've got a nice flat plate here to be able to do it, you pretty much have created your own set of Ninko bearings for your front axles. So I'm sure you've got some sort of equivalent store over there in your area in California. I think that's where you are, Duane, and you might be able to find these, but they're quite handy, and I've used them on a number of Minco cars just to make the front axle a little bit more stable. Now, down there,
they have nylon inserts. Is that correct?
The whole thing is nylon.
Yeah, it's nylon. They're designed to fit a nylon bolt that sort of holds PCB chassis and things together.
Great.
Yeah, so these down our way, they're about $6.50 for a packet of 25, in our money. So that's not all that expensive, really. So
they weigh absolutely nothing, and they don't trust them to tighten anything into them, because I've used lots of 3mm nylon nuts or nylon nuts on RC cars in the past, and they weigh absolutely nothing, but you just can't tighten anything in them, and using them as a bush actually is a very clever idea.
Wow.
I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that we're talking about metric, so that's an M3 nylon nut and washer.
Yeah. It's M3, the measurement they show, but the ID is almost exactly 2.5 millimeters.
Yeah, of the inside of the thread is 2.5.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you're searching for that, just search for M3 nylon nut, and that'll probably be perfect.
Cool.
Or flange nut, nylon flange nut.
Yeah, flange nut. That's the word I was looking for. I'm like, I didn't want to say with washer because that's not what it's called.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all.
Great idea.
At this stage.
Nice.
Yeah. And the old story of something never ever thought of as being useful for a slot car really is. So yeah,
I'm tempted to grab some myself.
I did have a comment on something that someone brought up last week. I think was to do with fuses, and some wag many years ago said a $100 component will blow to protect a 10-cent fuse.
If you use the wrong fuse, that's for sure.
Okay, then I'll just.
All right, thanks for sharing, Big Dan. Anybody else got any questions or anything for Big Dan before we move on? All righty, so Bob, you want to give it another try?
I think maybe I got something.
All right, let's give it a try. Here we go. Bob Roberts has started sharing now. Now we see the underside of your track.
Yeah,
Cool, well done.
People wanted to see that last week, and so I'm hoping I can just click to the next picture.
Yeah, should be able to.
That's an awesome little thing to have built, isn't it?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Bob, I love the way the legs are sort of engineered to move at the. That's awesome.
Yeah, go back to that first picture.
All articulated. Yeah, great.
Okay, let me get back there. Okay.
You kind of see him in that.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'll be honest with you. There was
Awesome.
a guy on YouTube that built a table like this, and so I watched his video and kind of blew it up and took some measurements on screen and started playing with it, and it's working out pretty good. I've got 130 pounds counterweight to lift it because I overbuilt it, and it takes me and my wife. It's pretty easy to lift, but what I want to look into is possibly putting some gas shocks on there to help lift it, or electric winch. Next time, if I build another table, it'll be a lot lighter, that's for sure. So
It looks like you're using furniture dollies to move it around.
I'm sorry?
Looks like you're using furniture dollies to move it around.
Yeah, they're actually screwed to that. There's 5 furniture dollies that are mounted to that, and it wheels around real easily. And
That's way cool.
Yeah. So
And what's really nice is that it's not just a rectangle, is it?
It's not just a rectangle.
Well, it allows
Show
me
us
to
the rest,
park my
please.
car in the garage.
Wayne,
Oh,
mute your phone. Go ahead, Bob.
I didn't hear what he said. So
Yeah, it was too much reverberation feedback there. Just go ahead and tell us everything about it, Bob.
well, it's just something that I built. It's obviously made out of 2x4s and a few 1x4s. I did use, if I can think of the board on the side there, I'll think of it in a moment, but it's pretty common to use for trim and things like that. And you see some of the wiring there. There's over 400 soldered connections. I got 5 power taps on this. And it's a TrackMate timing system. There's my wife there looking at like, what are you doing? So, but it's an 8x16, 72 feet of track, TrackMate timing system. I don't know if there's any other photos. There it is laid down. So, but 4.4 seconds to make a lap on the track.
That with
and I'm
magnets
starting a club. And hopefully,
Is that with magnets or
magnet and with magnet, just one magnet. I've done it with non-magnet, and it's about 6 seconds.
Okay.
And hopefully, my first race will be next week. I'm just recovering from COVID, and so I've got 18 guys lined up. So if half of them show, that'd be great. But,
it sounds like a good time.
That looks so nicely constructed, Bob. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. And, yeah, it's sad to say it took me 6 months. Not working 8-hour days on it, of course, but yeah. So I had quite a lot of attention from neighbors that would walk by wondering what I was building. So it was interesting. So
Well,
it was interesting.
Bob, were you planning at the same time you were building, or did you have everything planned out first?
I was planning as building, believe it or not, and I had an idea, but a lot of it I had no plan to go by. I didn't come up with a plan. I just started building and went that route. So I was always taught you need a plan first, but I've always seemed to just start building things and it works out. So,
What do you estimate it weighs?
That's what my question was.
oh boy, I would guess it's probably 300 pounds, maybe 300 pounds.
At least.
What size plywood did you use?
4x8.
Yeah, correct. So
No, I meant the 3/4 inch or.
It was actually CDX, and I think that's like just under 3/8.
Okay.
yeah, it's a pretty good framing system below, so you can go pretty thin.
Yes.
I would
Does it
go
run in both directions or only one?
in the future. I would go 1/4 inch on. You can jump on it. Or, I mean, it's not going anyplace, but it's overbuilt.
Did you set it up to be bi-directional or just one direction of racing?
I've got one direction is the way I set it up to begin with. I may put switches on there to switch it. I don't know at this point, but
Which way does it run?
I've got it running counterclockwise.
That's a
So left to right for the drivers down in front of them.
Yeah, on the left.
Yeah, well, the easiest way to see if you enjoy the reverse of what you got is basically flip the wires on one of your slot cars and run it in the opposite direction and see. That's what we did before I sort of put switches in. And what we found with ours is that it was like a totally different track. So it's like having 2 tracks in one.
Absolutely.
Or if you have any Carrera cars, just flip the polarity switch.
Yeah, if I had it to do over again, I would have went with switches right from the beginning. I don't think it's that difficult to do now, but it would have been nice to do it right from the beginning. But
Well, the
It's
other cool
not
thing
difficult, but I think sometimes, if you don't try it first, you don't realize that, I did them on my track from the beginning and I almost never used them because the track just doesn't flow very well in the other direction.
Okay. Well,
It's weird when you,
I'll try reversing the wire, the car, give that a try before I go to the trouble of putting switches in.
Well, yeah, and the other beauty of your track, Bob, is that, you know, you've got absolute access to underneath to do whatever you want.
Yeah, easy access. Yeah. And ironically, you might find that it flows better the other direction than the one that you've been racing it.
You never know.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yep. I think
it's
Wayne
weird
had
though
a
when you
question
reverse.
earlier. Let's let Wayne get his word in. Wayne, did you still have a question, or was that already answered?
No, I wondered what the green things were in the controller holders.
I think those are the
Those are the little Scotch-Brite sticky paper lint rollers.
For the tires.
I see.
Yeah, I run silicones. I like silicone tires, and they really grip well on this track. And so in all the races I've raced before, pretty much at other tracks, whether it be wooden or plastic, they use silicone. So with the exception when I race 124 scale on a wood track, we use foam tires. But I've tried urethane. I just haven't, you know, I know some guys have had luck with it. I just haven't. I've always liked the way the silicones work. And you need a real clean.
If you're running silicones, you might as well.
Yeah.
Great track. Yeah, John, did you have a question? I kind of cut you off earlier, Mr. Crawley. You were asking something earlier, and I cut you off for Wayne.
Oh, I was just going to say that when you reverse the direction, like John was talking about, all your braking points and everything are just like totally out the window. And I reversed mine, and it's like I had cars flying all. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell just happened? That's a braking zone. So it is a lot of fun because it's like two totally different tracks. It's a lot of fun doing that.
And I got to shout out the SCC Slot Car Corner. They were great with assistance on the wiring and help on that. So they were great people to deal with. So.
Yeah, they're a fantastic resource, and the best part of Slot Car Corner, personally, is not all of the fantastic products they sell, especially pre-wired driver stations. You know, all you got to do is, you know, run some additional wires, but all the instructions. I mean, you can learn how to do pretty much everything through the various PDFs and whatnot on the Slot Car Corner site without even having to buy their products. So if you want to go back in and put your switches in, you don't got to replace your driver panels with ones with switches. You just go look at their switch installation instructions and see how to do the little crisscross thing. Yeah, great site, slotcarcorner.com. Anybody out there watching who doesn't know about slotcarcorner.com, now you do, go look it up. All right, thanks, Bob. And does anybody have any last minute questions for Bob before we move on?
Just one last comment about reversing direction, and that is you have to watch out the turn marshalling too, because very often the cars are coming off in a completely different place, and they may actually not be accessible in one direction or the other.
Yeah, great point. Mike?
I was actually pretty excited on that note about Slotted possibly making their lane changers go in both directions. I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's a whole separate topic, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Did you have anything? Did you have a show and tell? Did you want to share?
No, I do not.
Okay.
And now can you change the direction on a digital?
So
put the car going the other way.
Yeah, pretty much the way that.
Really. That's it.
Yeah, really. It depends on the digital system in question.
Carrera, say Carrera.
Carrera specifically has a polarity to the rails, so you can't just turn the car around, but you can flip the polarity switch and then turn the car around.
Got it.
But with pretty much any digital system, most of the lane changers only work in one direction. So if you want to change directions on your track, you also need to either turn around all your lane changers or double up all your lane changers.
Right.
And that's kind of what Mike was getting at, similar to what one of my friends did with his Scalextric digital track, where he took all the lane changers and basically cut them in half and doubled them up so that they can go either direction. The new Polycar lane changer for the slotted Polycar track for oxygen is designed such that it's already split in the center. And so if you bought 2 of them, you could put them together to be bidirectional. There's only sensors and functional flippers at one end, but you would be able to not have to do any physical cutting and welding and wiring and things like that to make it bidirectional. You just buy 2 of them and put the entrance halves together instead of exit halves. But yeah, it depends on the system whether or not you can just turn the car around. Scalextric Digital, you can just turn the car around.
To our detriment sometimes.
What's that?
To our detriment sometimes.
To our detriment, yeah. If you land in the slot the opposite way, the car will just keep going back.
Instant track call scream.
Yeah. Oh my God! That definitely happens. Did that answer your question, John? Okay, perfect. And Jim, did you have some input for Bob or question for Bob, or you got a show and tell?
Show and tell.
All right, take it away.
Oh, wasn't prepared for that.
Well, Mike said he didn't have any show and tell, right, Mike?
No, I do not.
Okay, so you're done. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I just wanted to see if this will work on here. The 30-second scale or the 24 scale or 30-second scale commercial track nationals are happening right now, and there is a live stream on Facebook.
We're watching the live stream of it happening right now.
You're watching the live stream happening right now. This is GT12 flat track. The B, I'm not sure if they're running an A main in this one or if it's just an A and a B sort with the winner coming out of whichever. Eurosport 32nd was yesterday. That one they did run A and a B qualifier to field an A main, which was 40 minutes long. Local guy Justin Colvin won both races yesterday. And so I just want to let you know that's on live. It goes through Sunday. There's, I think, at least two races each day, starting yesterday. And then theoretically, the big race, 124 scale Eurosports on Sunday.
Where is that being held?
I was going to say,
Rockland, California, which is about a half hour out of Sacramento.
Can you drop a link to their Facebook page? Because I'll have this video up in time for people to catch some of those other.
Yeah, I can do that.
And you've got some
yellow flag
solid internet. Look at that. I'm looking at pretty much real-time streaming through Zoom. You got some serious internet, Jim. Good job.
And they've got a good feed in that you can't see the whole track, but you can actually see the cars, and then the computer screen is inset.
Yeah.
So they're doing a pretty good job of it.
And the nice part about it too is when during the lane changes, that screen changes and the lap timing comes up big, so you can read it all.
Yeah,
it's a very slick system that's going on there.
I think the coolest thing is watching all their heads in sync.
Yeah, I went up yesterday in person and watched 32nd scale Eurosport, and I've driven 24 scale Eurosport, but I've never seen the 32nd scale cars. Are just crazy because they're just little rockets that don't handle as well as the 24 scale, but they're blazing fast. So
and 32 Euros are super fun.
The Eurosport is run on this class. I don't know if you saw it in the background, but there's a flat track in the background. This is the track that you saw is called the Purple Angel, and it's a bank track and very high speed. The yellow track in the back is a flat track, and so they're splitting the races between the two tracks. Some of the classes are run on both tracks. So there's a flat track, I think GT12, and a bank track GT12. All the Eurosports are run on the flat track. The first race yesterday that Justin won also, it came down to two local guys, Justin and Chris Crofts, were a foot apart with a minute to go. Wow. And Chris was a little bit faster than Justin, but he was not in front of him, and he tried to put his nose in. I talked to him yesterday. I tried to put my nose in. I couldn't quite do it. And so with 3 laps to go, I went for it, didn't make it, and he came off, but it was an extremely close race.
Now, this is after how many laps, a foot apart?
I don't know. It was after 24 minutes. I think they're running like 35 laps of heat.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
It is.
So yeah, definitely some good racing. So that's happening right now. This is 2 years in the making because this was scheduled for 2020 and it was postponed because of COVID. And so this is 2 years after the fact, the Nationals up in Rockland, California.
Kind of interesting question for you, because the commercial 124th track that is in my area also uses yellow for the color of the flat track and purple for the color of the bank track. Is that some kind of unwritten rule or standard? Like,
not that I know of. Maybe Dennis would know.
I'm like,
no, no standard to it.
This purple track is called the Purple Angel, and apparently there's only 2 of these in existence. It's kind of a unique track. See the over and under, and so it's a different kind of bank track.
And the yellow one is called the Yellow Dragon.
Yep.
It didn't look like.
Are they set up differently for the purple compared to the yellow?
Oh yeah, because it's a high bank, and I would guess at a GT12 you'd run a heavier car on one track than the other.
I doubt
that's
it,
a Dennis
because
question.
because the rules are such that on the bank track you use a different body, which has more downforce. So you probably wouldn't be adding any weight to it at all.
Yeah, if you look at these 2 tracks, the one in the back is 90 some. No, it's bigger than that, but this bank track, the GT12s, the TQ is 3.3. So they're getting around that track pretty fast.
Are we not seeing the bank? Like, is the camera?
Yeah, the bank is over here.
Bank's behind, is underneath the camera.
Yeah,
It's
the cars come around here,
big
they go
bank.
underneath, and then into the bank and down the back straight.
Okay, that makes sense.
That left hander at the end of the straight is also banked. The second left, the hairpin, it's also banked, isn't it?
But
just a little bit.
Yeah.
The one you can't see is a high bank.
Oh, okay.
30-40 degrees.
That's a really big shop to sort of house all those tracks.
There's another track to the left, and then there's a drag strip. So it's a pretty big track. This is the 4th location that they've been in, and so the guy that owns it is a slot car fanatic, because he's making his money over on the right side where all the RC cars are. And so this is somewhat of a labor of love for Dwight Adamson, the owner. Because I don't think he would need to do this from a business standpoint, but he does it because he loves slot cars.
Yeah, you pretty much have to. The one that I was mentioning earlier is over here in Edgewood, Washington, Pacific Slot Car Raceways, and they have a nice big facility as well. They've got a purple King. I don't know what the foot is, but it's definitely a King of some kind.
Blue King 155.
Probably a 155. It didn't look like it only had the high bank and then a back and forth and then the loop and then back to the high bank. So probably just a 155.
Well, yeah, because that was one of the big lessons of the 60s. When you do the math, the square footage per dollar income just doesn't compute.
Yeah, especially these days.
Yeah, and then in the same location next to that, they had their flat track. I forget the name of it, but it was a yellow border. Looked very similar to that one, but I couldn't see the layout. I don't think it was a Dragon, because otherwise I would remember that, because Dragon is easy to remember. And then they also had a hill climb over in another part, and then a drag strip against the back wall. So it's a great facility. If you're in Tacoma, Washington, if you're in the Puget Sound area and want to do some commercial 124th, Pacific Slot Car Raceways in Edgewood is your go-to.
So we're getting some good feedback, because like I mentioned last week, we're having a race at Motown in Modesto, which is about an hour south of Sacramento, with our, what I consider our cars, 32nd scale slotted NSR. And I talked to Dwight yesterday up at Fast Tracks, and after the Nationals this week at his place, we're going to get together and see if we can plan a 32nd scale racing program on that yellow track. It's really tough. And if anybody has suggestions, us home track racers are used to not paying anything. And in our area, we're used to not paying anything and getting a free lunch, because the host typically provides lunch. And so, how much does he charge? He's got to charge something. He can't let us go in free, because it's a business, and he has rental cars that go on there and he makes money on. So, how much is too much? And so what can we do to get our cars in there and race and have a successful program? Yeah. So it's a business problem.
A question for him.
So, well, he's thinking $10 entry fee, which to me is not a big deal, but especially with HO.
Yeah, I'm
because
gonna
I've
go
raced
ahead
that.
and segue this into a topic that I kind of wanted to hit on earlier, but this is we're right on that topic already, and Bob knows exactly what I'm talking about because I saw his track on this thread on Slot Blog, and I contributed to that thread as well. And basically, it was a person saying, "Hey, I want to add plastic track racing to my slot car parlor." And at first I was thinking he was on open a new one, but apparently he's already got a wood track in his parlor. And he was basically asking for some kind of just overall suggestions or advice from how do I get the scale racing people to come in, right? And he knows that there are home track clubs like a lot of us are in that don't want to go to a facility and pay to race around on somebody else's plastic track. And my contribution, as useless as it often is, was basically, you're trying to make money or lose money, because if you're trying to make money, pick a whole different kind of business. If you don't mind losing money, you're in the right place. And then, it's like plastic track is plastic track, do lots of power taps, blah, 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 useless information. Bob showed a picture of his track, fantastic track. Obviously, he's got some people coming in interest. But Bob, you're probably not going to charge a cover fee, are you? Or are you?
No, I'm going to do it like I was back in Michigan. What a lot of the clubs did is that you show up, and then after he finds out how many people are going to be there, he orders in pizza, he had pop and water, and then he doesn't say much. He just, give a donation. And typically guys would give $10 donation and a hat to cover his expenses, and everybody was happy with that. Yeah. And I think you could get much over, if you were to charge $10 entry fee, you're going to scare a lot of people off. That's what I'm facing with here. The one track I go to, I show up to race. Not only does he charge $12 to race, but he charges practice fee on top of that, which is a little discouraging, but that's the way it is. And he's got to make money. And I've been in business, and I put a pencil to it. And for the life of me, I don't know how some of these guys make it. I really don't. It's a tough business. And,
they don't. I mean, that's the thing is, if he's already got a business, a successful or at least able to keep afloat business with wood tracks, well, he must not, because he's looking to add plastic track. He's looking to bring in new customers with plastic track racing.
Well, Greg, why would he add a plastic track when my point is, why would he add a plastic track, which is basically what they've got at home? Why not have them race their cars on a wood track, give them something they don't have, and then charge for it? People may not balk at that. Well, I can go to a plastic track and do it at home, so I'm not going to go pay for it. But if I can go on this really cool wood track that nobody has, then maybe it's worth paying for.
He didn't offer a whole lot of detail, as I recall. My memory is spotty, but I'm possible that his wood track does not have Magnabraid, and so
it won't have Magnabraid for sure.
That's even better.
Yeah. So
in my opinion,
he's trying to bring in the crowd who wants to be able to just use an out-of-the-box car.
I think the other thing too is that his wood track is probably way too big. It's probably a hill climb or a bank track or a king or something like that.
He did mention banks, and that when he tested some various plastic cars, they had a hard time with the banks. So obviously,
and especially if the wood tracks are old and the slots are wide and the braid is deep, then an out-of-the-box 132nd scale car has a lot of trouble running on those tracks.
Yeah. That's probably
could be digital too. If they're going to try to get the digital racers, they need plastic track.
Yeah, he didn't mention. I don't think
he was thinking about that even.
Yeah,
I know that Buena Park Raceway had a 4-lane Carrera track, or was it even a 6-lane Carrera track in the back of the building at one point, and they could never get the home racing guys to come and race on it. I don't know how hard they tried, but at the time, they really didn't get much interest. And so they took it out because it was just not generating any income.
If I could throw out a suggestion, coming from a background of putting on a lot of large competitive events, and seeing our hobby the way it is, and also being business minded as well. The $10 typical average cost to participate in an event is good to cover the cost of the proprietor, but you can also add some layers of that entice people to come out even more by adding an additional $10 on top of that and having that as a prize purse to be paid down to some of the top finishers. So it turns it into an actual tournament where you actually have a payoff that would be, first place may, depending on the number of entries, it may generate $100 or the price of a new car, or even more depending on how many entries are in there, and then proportionally going down and paying 3, 4, 5 places, something like that. So that's a model that we've used in several, obviously in the bowling world, and then several other things that I've done as well that I've brought competition to.
I've found that cash prizes for toy car racing creates problems.
And there's ways of equalizing that with the handicap bases and things like that.
Not that.
Yeah.
You took me out. Well, you took me out for nothing, not a big deal. You took me out for $5, it's a big deal. And that I'm serious, that does happen.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It's I would hesitate to do any kind of cash paybacks in a slot car race. Drag racing, it works fine because you're not banging heads with people, just a straight contest. But with slot car racing, where you can nerf people, it gets now, it can and will get nasty.
Well, Jim, to your point, especially marshaling, because someone could complain that they weren't put back on the track fast enough.
All that stuff leads, and it doesn't seem to make any difference whether it's $5 or 5,000. When money is involved, it gets nasty.
I'm right there with you. Agree with you entirely.
I guess that one of the suggestions that was on the thread, apologies to whoever posted the suggestion, to if you're watching this video, was to give them something they can't get from their home track, like you guys are already saying. And one of the suggestions was basically to replicate some actual track, obviously not perfectly to scale or perfectly as a track, but something that you can do in a large facility that people can't do in their garage, like a Suzuka or a, Road America, or, whatever the case may be, but say, okay, this is a 4-lane Road America, and, it takes up a whole lot of space that you can't do at your home. Even though it's plastic track, it is a whole different experience.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. You've got to give them something where it's worthwhile to pay $10 to go to this because I can't do it at home. Same cars, same track or whatever, but it's different than the home track, and it's a value added or whatever you want to call it type of thing.
Have you guys seen, there's this company in Germany that makes it's wood and I don't know what else it is, wood and plastic combined, that makes a track, and it looked pretty interesting. To build a track that way, they might be getting the home plastic track guys in on something a little new. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. It's very expensive section.
Is it? I had never priced it, so
it's really expensive.
Crazy expensive.
Yes.
So basically, what we're looking for is the Vegas version of slot car racing.
Yep.
Something you can't get at home.
Isn't what these guys have just been discussing a key ingredient of what the Le Mans 24 Hours attraction is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Makes it worth the international travel, because you can't do that anywhere else.
Yeah, but that's a big space investment, and when you're talking about a commercial, like John mentioned earlier, the income per square foot matters, right? So you can't just take over your whole facility unless you know it's going to really suck them in. So.
Well, some retailers will run the racing at revenue neutral, hoping that they'll sell product to the people who come.
Yeah, that was one of the other suggestions is don't worry so much about the race income, but have product to sell. But then in that case, you're battling the mail order people, and that's Alan's over here in Tacoma.
Well, that product to sell is food and drink.
Food.
Right.
That's where the money is.
That's it.
That was what was happening with Lone Star here in Dallas on Mini Z racing. They had this great big Mini Z track that ate up a ton of their store in terms of square footage, and they just could never make up that, in terms of RC sales or anything else by square footage. So they had to shut it down.
I wanted to comment on the charging for racing. The Far Out Slot Car Club here in Southern California charges $10 to race your own cars, an extra $5 for loaners. Unless you're brand new, you don't have to pay anything for the loaners. And basically every race will either have some kind of snack, beer, water, soda, and or many times they'll provide sandwiches. But every race is a $10 race. And so, where some people aren't charging anything, we charge every time. And that goes to the host to pay for the snacks and so forth. And then, of course, one thing we do have is with Stephen Farr Jones, he provides loaners at every race for every class. So that way people don't have to even own a car, they can come and race.
Yeah.
I just wanted to comment on that about charging.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, for that kind of thing, that's, you could probably charge or ask for donations or ask for $5 or whatever. I mean, in that case, you're not covering overhead so much as personal expenses for the host. This guy's got to have some kind of zero overhead for his establishment that he's got to cover the costs for. And I guess probably the next post needs to be somebody saying, okay, well, if you've already got a wood track, what is your overhead? What kind of costs are you trying to cover that you think is going to be met by adding plastic track? And do you think you're going to bring it in? Because if you don't have the room, if you don't have the floor space to provide a track that your typical garage or basement guy can't do himself, then you've got to have a bunch of overhead that you need to cover with that. I don't know. I was gonna suggest, get your liquor license so that you can sell beers or something like that. But I don't know how many of us can say, for the home track, garage track guys, we've always got a mini fridge or something with some beers in it. Do you really want that in a commercial environment? I mean, especially when, Jim made the great point of, when there's something on the line, do you want to put alcohol into the mix, John? Right?
Well, yes, but it's not a good idea.
No.
Oh, what? Yeah, why not? Come on.
You want to, as the person who's not going to drink, you want that guy to drink.
Definitely.
Well, there's your head.
I've won many races that way with my buddy up in Chelan.
I've lost a few that way.
You win a heat, you got to chug a beer.
You can have the Dean Martin Memorial Race. It's perfect.
Well, that's what they did in the bowling industry. They actually, because bowling was the amount of revenues generated per square foot for a large bowling center typically just wasn't generating the type of money that some investors, people that weren't doing it for a labor of love, felt was worthwhile. So they switched things over to be more of an entertainment type of environment where they would use bowling. You come out and just bowl and things like that, but you're paying a huge premium for gourmet foods and $5 drinks, $5 sodas, and $10 beers and things of that nature to make up for. And then they always put all the glitzy stuff in there too to make it very entertaining.
Yeah, there's a place like that up here in Tukwila. It's obviously it's a great bowling alley, but they've got all the fancy neon lights, and they do dark lights, and they do appetizers and just all that stuff. And it's an entertainment thing. It's not a bowling alley anymore.
That's
it's an
correct.
entertainment facility that you do.
That's what they may want to consider in the in the commercial slot car world, is to try to and have parties and things of that nature, and just have the slot car as one of the components. And that's when we get to Club Corner, I'm going to kind of touch a little bit on that.
All right.
But it's a little bit like indoor go-kart racing, because those guys have had to build a new formula for go-kart racing now to make that pay off. So what you're going to have to do is make it worthwhile the guys to leave their garages or leave their basements and their own tracks and come and race somewhere else. And maybe if you could be part of a league, then that's one of the things that made bowling so successful is they created these leagues. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a great idea is leagues like, you know, you have a 3-man team or a 3-person team and you race the other team and then the next hour team 3 races team 4 and do that on a nightly basis or whatever, and then have food and drink there. And you could do it if you did with the IROC cars where you, instead of bringing your own, like a bowling alley, you just show up. Most people have their own balls, but nobody has their own go-kart. They don't bring them to the go-kart center. So if you had really good competitive cars that people got to run, you might get a lot of people that don't want to put the time and effort like we do into building stuff, but would like to race. That's a great idea.
Okay, Jim, I am not touching that comment because it was just too funny on its own.
Which part?
Bowling alley and bringing your own spheres.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, you could have said balls, John. What the heck?
Sorry, my mental thesaurus was in full mode.
Okay, John, I'll throw this one out to you like a baseball and a tee. I only have one ball when I go bowling.
You know what? It's all you need.
All right,
I just thought I'd put that up there so you could hit it.
You give a Canadian a small crack and they think it's a hockey goal.
Before we move on to another topic, does anybody have any additional information on this particular topic to contribute?
Yeah, hey, Greg, I do.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Yeah, this goes back many years ago, you know, and we were doing our racing, club racing. You know, there's a few hobby stores that had their own tracks. And I went in and talked to them, and they opened their doors in the evenings, and they became part of our league, like what you guys are talking about. They never charged us anything because I never talked to them about free anything, but I think it was really their hobby store during the day is when they made their money. They had just some small tracks, and we just made it part of our series. And all the guys would go. We didn't pay anything, to be honest. We probably didn't spend really much money at the hobby store that night. But that goes back, 20 years ago. Now I'd probably be willing to pay some money, but yeah, we went to hobby stores because they had their tracks up. They were plastic tracks, and actually one was really small. And the way we raced, you better not come off because you're getting like 25 laps per 1 minute. And it sounds like it wouldn't be fun, but it really was. It was really a small track, but it made it a little bit different way of racing. So,
John, did you bring your own cars or did you?
Oh yeah, yeah. They didn't have owners or anything. They just opened the doors, let us do our racing, and we went home. And I mean, they were great. There was 3 different Fantasy World. They were big into slot cars, and then there was Galaxy Hobby, and it was a great hobby store. And then can't recall another one in Bellevue, Washington. And anyway, we would go and race, and yeah, it was just part of our circuit. So
yeah, I remember there was one in Seattle called Eagles Hobby. They had a pretty decent track. I don't know if you guys raced on that at all.
No, we did not. No.
But yeah, I mean, all of those stores were basically, hobby / RC / slot car stores. Their main income was the product.
Yes.
Not the racing.
Yeah. So when you're talking just a slot car, place that's all they do. I can see where they would need to charge. I would pay, but I can see where it would scare off some people. But maybe if you made it, well, that makes it tough to make it part of the series. Well, then you say, hey guys, it's all free in the garages, but now you got to pay $10 to come race at this. If you want to keep your points going and be successful. I can see that would be tough for the group to want to do. But anyway, that's all I had to say.
Yeah. Well, the other aspect too, to put a positive spin, if you made it a really great social place to be, I think you'd find people paying and looking forward to the events. Again, a lot of it, I think, comes down to how it's organized and who's organizing and who's participating.
I think that goes back, if you had the leagues and you had cars provided, so everything was on an equal basis, that could be a lot of fun. That every third Thursday or every second Thursday, whatever, however you wanted to do it, there would be this league championship that builds towards the end of the year runoff or something.
I think one of the other more common things is Not that you're necessarily a hobby store or an all-around slot car store that sells lots and lots of product, but that you have the product on hand that you're racing at your tracks. For example, Pacific Slot Car Raceways is 124th commercial track, and I'm sure they'd be happy for you to come in and pay a few bucks for some track time and put your Carrera car on their track. They'd let you do that, but their main income is going to be those pricey 124th cars and motors and chassis and bodies and all that stuff, and that's what people race on those tracks. Alan's facility, Scale Racing, he'll let people come in and play on the track, and when you buy any car from his facility, and he's primarily he's all kinds of slot cars, but primarily hard bodies, plastic cars. Any car you buy is going to get you some track time, so you don't have to pay separately for track time. If you come in and buy a car, you can go play on the track. If you come in for an organized race, that organized race is going to be with product that he is the distributor of or promoting in some way, like BRM or Scale Auto or whatever. He's doing organized racing with those products, and he sells those products. Sure, he charges us a small fee for participating in the race, but that's not covering his overhead by any stretch of the imagination. He's covering his overhead with sales. He also does mail order stuff, but there's no way that I can't see any way that anybody would cover overhead with just racing participation income. It's got to be augmented with product sales, and the only way to do that is to encourage the racing of the products that you sell, right? So if you're going to come in and encourage racing of Scalextric or Carrera, you better be selling some Scalextric or Carrera cars and hop up kits for those cars. Mike, you had something?
Yeah.
That's where oh, go ahead, Mike.
The guy that owns the track in Malaga charges $10 a pop for every race, but since it's a pretty much out of the way place, he basically subsidizes people to play there, so he has people to slot car race with, because it's a small group. So, but he will distribute the funds collected on a winning and on down basis, so that you rarely come back without at least half of your money back. And he also has all the accessories there that are used in the cars, and the cars that he's running are 124th LMP stock cars and retro Can-Ams. Those are the three classes. And so they're always there. And what we will do, what the group does, is they will have races on Tuesdays, the first and the third Tuesday, and then in the middle of the month on a Saturday, they will have what they call a slotto, where they'll run all three classes. And that's, again, $10 charge for that. And then the winnings are distributed and subsidized afterwards. And it's potluck as far as bringing food and that stuff. And that's been a pretty effective way. He subsidizes the place in a pole barn that he stores all his personal toys in. And, so he can do that. And it's been really successful. And contrary to Jim's mention about money being involved, I have never, in the 3 years I've been doing it, seen anybody upset about winning or losing the money. It's more about losing the race than it is losing the money. So that's just my experience with it.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the people that come to race.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
Well, the groups that come up, we get some from the southeastern part of the state, and a bunch of people will drive for the Slotto weekend where they can race all three classes. And it's controlled. All three classes have the same motor, and the only open chassis is the retro Can-Am, which is brass chassis, and then they limit it by weight. The LMP cars are unlimited. The stock cars they have 4 different bodies, I think it is. And I think it's a Mosetti chassis. But they decrease the voltage for the stock cars. So, there's controls that way, and it's pretty even. Unfortunately, it's a spray glue track, which I just don't like, but that's different strokes, and I just deal with it. I can slack car race, and it's the only game in town. So why not take advantage of it? And I've learned a lot. There's one of the guys in the club that takes care of ordering all the pieces. So he's got enough that you can replace motor, all the gears, all the little bitty parts, tape and decals and body shells and all that stuff is available right there. And you can order it from him if he wants to. And he doesn't really make a profit on it at all. It's very, very minimal, but it's just a service there so that the guys can have availability of pieces right there to, if something breaks, they can change it right away.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like a great kind of hobbyist slash low overhead racing environment situation. I think that's going to be the exception rather than the rule.
Sure, I get that.
But yeah, good stuff. Frank, you had something?
Yeah, I was just you were talking about the commercial raceways having product. Actually, Marco at Electric Dreams did it the opposite. He had the product and then he added a race track to that. And he basically, the classes he has set up, he sells all the parts that you want to get there, or you can get them anywhere, but he has them. And luckily for him, yeah, the track is not, but you have 18 racers at $10 for a whole day is $180. That's not going to even cover the electrical bill for the day.
Yeah.
So it's not something where he's trying to make money on the racers. It's going to be the product, and percentage wise, you always make more on those parts than you do on racing.
Yeah, and even people who find cars and parts and stuff elsewhere, the majority of the people who race there are just going to find the convenience of buying there to be worth
while they're there. Oh yeah, there's always a line at the cash register buying parts during the race day all day.
Plus he has it because he's got such a big inventory. It's not like,
exactly.
Well, I don't have that. And then the guy ends up going on the internet and buys it from somebody else. So he is the internet kind of speak of.
Good point.
One of the big 3 or 4, Professor Motor, Electric Dreams, 132 with Alan.
Yeah.
So
right.
He's got that inventory like a lot of local hobby shops. Well, no, I don't have that, but I can get it for you in a week.
Yeah.
In a week. I need it today.
Yeah.
Electric Dreams.
Iceman, did you have something else?
Oh,
nope.
No, okay. Sorry, I didn't put my hand down. I apologize.
No worries. I'll put it down for you. Luff, did you have something?
Yeah, it's just when I had my business, the plastic fabricating, we had 2 permanent tracks upstairs and then 1 big track that we'd set up once a week downstairs. And everybody voluntarily paid $10. And it ended up paying about half my rent every month.
Wow.
So, and one of the hobby shops, a guy show up with a box full of cars and parts and give us a good deal on all that stuff.
Yeah, but Luff, Canadians, we just feel guilty for having a good time, eh?
and beer was $2 a can.
Oh, there you go.
And that was real beer.
It's funny that sometimes I do other hobbies, and sometimes it's easier and you actually get better returns depending on what you're doing. Obviously, if you just say donations are accepted, donations are welcome, you don't have to pay, but if you think that you're getting some value from this, then chip in a few bucks.
Well, I was just going to say, to give it a bit of a perspective, you're talking $10 for a whole day of racing. I pay $25 for an hour of hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of expand on the example, I do laser tag with kids in the neighborhood, basically. And so I would provide everything, right? And there's no cost to them whatsoever. But I said, donations are welcome. And half the time I'll get some parent coming up and saying, here, slip me a 20, slip me a 50, slip me a pack of batteries or whatever the case may be, bring a pack of cookies or whatever the case may be. And, but if the nice thing about that is that obviously this is no overhead situation. I'm not running a business, so it's a much simpler equation than what we've been talking about. But in that regard, it's kind of interesting in that, if you say something is free, sometimes people don't ascribe value to it. But at the same time, if you charge for something, people don't want to pay it. So you basically say it's free to come play, but donations are welcome. And then you get people come to play and check it out, and then they start slipping you donations.
Well, I think somebody said it earlier. I think in the case of slot cars, home slot car racers, you've got to give them a reason for wanting to come to your place to race, something they're not getting now. Is it competition? Is it the Suzuka track that they haven't run on before? Is it, whatever? I think if you can tap into that, then you can do exactly what you're saying. Hey, come over to our place this Saturday or Wednesday night or whatnot. We're going to start this racing on XYZ track, and let them get there and race for a while and say, donations are accepted, and see how it grows. Because what you don't want to do is charge and everybody goes like, well, that was a bummer. That wasn't very good, because it's not going to take off right at first. He's not going to open the door for a brand new track. It's going to take some word of mouth for the guys that are racing at home to go, let's go try that. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah. And advertising is always the trickiest part, because that's just a money pit right there. And in order to get customers, you got to get the word out. And if they're not spreading the word of mouth, then
I think that's why I think that league thing, the idea for leagues is you could have leagues for us hardcore racers.
Right.
If you have a set of cars for the leagues, you could also, if you like, at this place at Rockland, we've got tons of walk-in traffic. And well, every kid or whoever that even looks sideways at a slot car, here's a coupon for a free league race, for a rookie league race. Come try it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, first one's free.
First one's free.
Oh,
like a good drug dealer.
Yeah.
All right. Have we beaten this dead horse enough? Let's move on. Actually, let's go ahead and talk about the giveaway. Does anybody have any suggestions for what they would like to give away?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll volunteer a body kit.
Ooh,
to any,
awesome.
yeah, of who. Now, again, it's up to you folks whether you want to make it a choice. I've got a Porsche 356 kit. I've got the Porsche 935 kit and the Chaparral 2G. I could do one of each if you want.
Well, since the whole point of me doing this, I don't want you being out anything. So I would pay you for the kit just as if you would be selling it to somebody.
We can talk about that offline.
If you want to do a giveaway of your own, that's a whole separate thing.
No. This is for the chat. Yeah.
The donations are accepted.
Yeah. Yes. No, yes, because listen, John, you're absolutely right. Human beings are naturally reciprocal.
Yes, but but the whole point of me giving away is because I'm giving back, because I've earned money from everybody viewing all these videos.
Okay.
So I want to output the money. Right. You can give away things if you want.
No, I'll offer those up. Anyway, just as a point of discussion, and we'll move on to something else.
Okay, so if that's what you guys vote for, then John and I will work that out offline. Does anybody else have any other suggestions? As I was about to say, go ahead, Mike.
How about one of the high-end Black Arrow kits?
Ooh, Black Arrow. We've not given away a Black Arrow yet.
Ooh, they're expensive.
They're more than $100.
No, I think they're $100 even.
I was gonna say, if you can get one for about $100, I'm okay with that. I got a little bit over $100, and I'm okay with that.
Ferrari 458.
From the Black
Martini.
Arrow? Are you talking about Black Arrow, Wayne?
Yeah.
Okay, so Black Arrow, Ferrari.
It's like Wayne has his eye on one of them already.
Apparently he does. Somebody else is going to win his car again. Dewan, did you have a suggestion?
Oh, I didn't mean to raise my hand. Nope, sorry about that.
Does anybody else have any suggestions for prizes for the money that I'm going to be spending? Okay, so
what about one of the NSR new McLarens or something like that?
Oh,
that's another good suggestion.
Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah, I just got the one from Electric Dreams ordered. It's supposedly coming Saturday.
Yep.
Michael ordered a red one.
No, it does have red on it.
Yeah.
It's red and green and white.
All right. So those are three suggestions. I've written them down. We'll vote on them later. And for now, we'll go ahead and skip over to Club Corner. Does anybody have any club corner things they'd like to talk about? Big Den, we missed you last week. I'm hoping there's a club corner in there from Big Den. Dewan has his hand up. Do you have a club corner, Dewan?
Yes.
Wait, Dewan.
Actually, I had some friends, well, some alumni from my high school that decided to come by for a quick little barbecue last Friday. And as part of it, I decided they didn't know that I had slot cars. They didn't even know anything. Well, some of them did, but they were clueless as to what they were walking into. And so part of the entertainment, I introduced them, and we had us an ad hoc little slot car. It was about 6 of them that raced. And I don't know, I think I'll try to share my screen. Did it? Yeah, okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. But anyway, this is, I basically did IROC type racing, and it was, just 4 of them at a time. And we had a few little different classes. I had, we were talking about the Pioneer kits before. I have 2 additional Pioneer kits. I was trying to do 4 Pioneers, but I didn't get them wrapped up in time. So I just put 2 the Back to the Future cars in there to make them somewhat competitive. But since they were the cars were staying in the same lanes and everything, everyone got the same opportunity to balance the competition out.
Which of those were the quickest, Dewan?
Actually, I put all 4 of those together because they were very, very close in speed. And actually, believe it or not, Back to the Future, those are all magnet too. Back to the Future original with the magnet has my track record. So under 3 seconds. Oh no, just 3 point something seconds on the track. So, but this was we had 3 different classes. So one was at the Back to the Future and Pioneer. The other one was the little Porsches, and then the third one was the.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yes. Oh, they got a blast out of all of them. I'm telling you, it was just great. They loved it.
Were you serving German cuisine like sausages or something?
Were those Porsches Electrics?
These are all Electric, yes. These are all Electric. They're all equal. They're identical, but different liveries or whatever to call them.
Well, I meant the Porsches in the previous picture, Dewan.
No, one was a Fly. I have 3 Carreras and 1 Fly. I was trying to get, I had one. I was trying to get the white Cabriolet, and I missed out on buying that one. And now I find it's like double the normal price, and I haven't gotten to just get that paid. Actually, triple the price of all these others. The white Cabriolet, but I wanted to have 4 different colors. So I just threw my little Fly Porsche 911 in there, just to kind of make it seem the same. And it's the slowest of the 4 cars, honestly.
Dwayne, what kind of track do you have there?
This vintage Revell track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is one of the races. It's the guy. Actually, what it was is I have about 5 or 6 of my high school alumni that live in Vegas, and this guy was coming up from LA to Vegas, and he was the catalyst that assembled us all together to have a quick barbecue over at my house. So he's the one, and it was his birthday weekend, so that's what came over. So that's the guy. These are some of the racers, all the girls, and I don't know why these pictures came in so small, but anyway, that's the race management system display. And I was going to talk a little bit about that too, because I've added a lot to that. Those are the girls again. And yeah, this is us in action. And that right there is my dream. Those are all Lexan bodies, 1/24 scale. This is for my frat brothers, because I'm Superman, alias Clark. That's my last name. And then my other frat brother, that line brother that I pledged with, he's Batman, and he's the one that's I've made the whole inspiration of my whole track team around. And the third one is Captain America. So I've made these. Obviously, Superman doesn't really have a car. He doesn't need a car, but so these are just.
You can say,
yeah, but does it fly?
You can say the police car.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
Yeah, it's a slot car.
It'll fly when he forgets where the curve is.
Exactly. I mean, these cars,
Which superhero is the black and white car?
These never come out as a slot ever. They just fishtail all over the place. They never. Well, I won't say never, but in general they don't.
The black and white car is the Punisher, don't you know?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
The black and white car is the Punisher.
The Punisher from
Oh,
what?
yeah. But that's one Adam 12. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, 012. That's one Adam 12 livery.
They were definitely heroes.
That never came across my radar. Probably its Englishness.
Okay, so that's what I had. But we had a ball, and they got. I mean, everything just went out the window when we started doing this. They just stayed there. And, it was supposed to end at 3 o'clock, and at 9:30 they finally left.
Dewan, is this track in your family room or somewhere in
This
that?
is my temporary test layout track, and it's occupying my living room as we speak.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and I have the luxury of having sliding pocket doors, so the whole living room was completely shut off until I decided to open the door and welcome it to the surprise. You know, so that's how it works.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think you've discovered the same thing that a lot of people have. You know, you have people over and they kind of go, "Yeah, I'll try it," and then you can't get the controller out of their hand. It's so cool.
Yeah. Very common story.
Here.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Dewan.
Okay.
And anybody got any extra stuff for Dewan before we move on?
It was about the Punishers, really. Was that a cartoon or a TV series?
The Punisher is a comic book character. I'm sure there's been a movie or two. But
Yeah, it was a Marvel character, right?
Okay, so Google's busy with me right now.
It wasn't really a police officer. Maybe I should have said Judge Dredd or something. Anyways, moving on from comic book characters, let's go to Big Den. What kind of club activities you had in your neck of the woods, Big Den?
Well, I just thought I'd say to Dewan in the first instance, if Superman had a car, it'd probably an Indy car and called something like the Kryptonite Special, you know.
And it'd have to be green.
Yeah, it'd really bring you down, wouldn't it?
Or the Lex Luthor Lincoln.
Oh, yeah. What have I started?
Moving on.
I haven't been racing myself. I was hoping to go down to Hobart on Tuesday night, our time, to race, but I was a bit tired to do the trip down and back. But they have been racing the Narrow Can-Am series that I mentioned earlier on. So I'll just bring some pictures from their website up. Now, they didn't, it looks like there's a lot of cars there, but where's the okay, yeah. But yeah, some of the guys have got multiple cars and they race a different car every round. So I'm just going to see. I don't know where my next.
Might have to move over to the side more.
Yeah, I'm looking for it, but it's not coming up. So
like go all the way to the side, to the scroll bar.
Yeah, hang on, I got something
I
else.
have to just scroll it.
Yeah, I had the same problem with mine a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was there before. But, yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna see if I can go back to the gallery. No, it's not. Okay. Right. Yeah, here we go. It's right. It's up the top. Geez, you give me a bum steer there, Greg.
My bad.
There you go, Greg.
I couldn't see it. I just need to come down a bit so I can actually see the scroll bar and the pictures. So yeah, that was the part of the full field. So they've been getting somewhere between 9 to 12 people. We had our Australian Grand Prix that took away a couple of the drivers. They headed over for that to Melbourne, so they didn't race for a week, 1 week. So the superheroes theory, that the nickname of the guy racing the Chaparral is Batman. So that was a bit topical.
Do you know what make chassis he has under that? And what make?
Oh, yeah, Frank, they're pretty much an open choice. Some of them have got very much complex brass chassis. Others have just put their car on a the Fly Porsche 908 chassis seems to fit a lot of these narrow. The Fly Porsche 906 chassis seems to fit a lot of these bodies pretty much out of the box. So that's a popular one. Another look at the Surtees there, some sort of Can-Am Porsche, I believe. That was the place getters for the first race. So the Chaparral fan car went okay there. Just a few around.
So you're not gonna outlaw the sucker car, huh?
No. It doesn't do much on wood tracks, Frank.
Probably not.
Now, Phil, the guy that runs the club most of the time, he's got an aim of racing a different car each round. So he ran this one in the second round and won. That's just another look. Yeah. So there was the placings for the second round. So there he is. Is that a? I'm not sure whether it's a Lotus 30 or 40 or not. It doesn't look Lotusy, but anyway. And that's just pretty much back to the start. So some people I think are just out running a straight Revell chassis, but we do have local races. I'm going to stop the share there so I can get back and have a look at my sticky notes on the side here. We've got racing this week at Grumpy's Garage, which is my local track, and the classes are going to be modern NASCAR, Revo slot GT2s, and V8 muscle cars, which is the one I'm hoping to get built up for the Pontiac I showed earlier on. Also make a little comment of it, which sort of takes in the cost of racing. And coming up, I did mention, I think it was on a couple of weeks ago, that there's going to be some NSR Australian Championships in Western Australia, September 22nd to 24th. 3 classes. They've already got interstate areas, and Western Australia is the furthest part of Australia away from the main eastern seaboard. They said they've even got some international entries. I just wondered whether one of them was Jim Rose. He seems to get around a bit, so maybe, you never know. And they're going to charge $20 a class. Now, I think there's hand-out motors and hand-out tyres, so that may be just to offset a bit of the cost of that, although I get the feeling that NSR are probably doing a fair bit of sponsoring of this event. They usually do when there's something big like that, as from previous experience. The track that they're racing on is, they don't tell me it's an 8-lane track, and the club that's running it has been in existence since 1967. They operate, the venue is about 2 hours south of Perth, which is the main, the capital of Western Australia. It's an 8-lane wood routed track. It's got, it's with a main straight 12 meters long. I haven't got any pictures to show you. And they run at about 13.8 volts. So these things are going to be very quick. The NSR cars are going to be able to wind out pretty well on those tracks, whereas on our local tracks, we have to turn the voltage down to 10 volts to be able to get the NSR F1s to be manageable. So okay, so I'll get off and let someone else have a bit of a talk.
Good stuff, Dan, and feel free to drop some links down in the chat, and I'll make sure they go into the video description. Anybody
now let's keep it simple for us Tasmanians.
Well, they can always do some Googling. So thanks for sharing, Big Dan. And Iceman, you got your hand up. What's going on?
Just wanted to say, when we were racing the club racing, there's a little bit of talk about the magnets and non-magnets, and I'm not too experienced with wood tracks, but I always like to see the cars slot cars race like the 1-to-1, try to emulate what the real cars would do. Like for F1, for me, I would want to have a magnet. So because, the modern F1s, as we know, are pretty, stuck down. So not that I want the slot car to be totally stuck down, but for me, I want to see an F1 car not be tail happy too much. So that's all we were trying to do when I was racing, was trying to emulate what the car would do in real life. So that's kind of what we were up to. So if I did a wood track, I'd probably want to try magnet traction, but I don't know much about how well that works with a magnet car. So I can't say too much on any of that stuff. But anyway, that's what we used to try to do, is just emulate what the real cars would do in 1-to-1 racing. So yeah,
the magnet traction works pretty good. I would compare it to Carrera as far as magnetic traction. So less than Scalextric, but not as much as, maybe not quite as much as Carrera, but close, right? So if you were to take a Scalextric car and plop it down to a Magna Braid wood track, it would drive similarly to as if you would put the car on a Carrera track.
Oh, okay.
A little less so. But it's feelable. You can feel it for sure. There's the pull is there for sure.
Did you do the same thing with engine configuration? So if something was a mid-engine car, you kept it mid-engine. If something was front engine, you had a front engine chassis, or no?
No. Well, no, we did not. So I guess we weren't really true to the motor location. Yes.
Whenever you ran a Fly series, though, because Fly was
yes, they do that.
They love putting the engine up front when it's a front engine car.
Now, is there a manufacturer out there that's providing magnet traction braid? Because I thought that I didn't see anything out there.
There have been people searching for it, and recently people have found it, but I don't remember the name or the location.
It used to be.
Yeah, it used to be easier, and now it's harder, but it's out there somewhere. I don't have a name or a website to give you, though. Somebody else out there might have that.
Tracks that we raced on was kind of unique. The guy didn't have Magna Braid. He put metal rails just in the corner.
Yeah.
So you had magnet traction in the corner, and then you could still keep your speed down the straightaway without the drag of the magnets. And that was a fun track to race on. That was really
that's a great idea. That's almost like slot car DRS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
kept in the corners.
Piano wire is one of those things that people get. The magnetic racing guys who basically developed a system where the car would be led by a guide steered by a magnet that would detect, that would be pulled to a rail embedded in the wood, not a slot, but the magnet would follow the rail. They use piano wire of a specific key or diameter or whatever piano wire is done, and you would route the slot for the piano wire, and then you would glue the piano wire and then coat it over with filler of some sort, so it looked like a smooth track, but actually there's piano wire in the track that a magnet in the guide would then follow. So you could probably do something very similar by doing an extra little notch under where the braid is going to go or where the tape is going to go to put piano wire. If you really, really wanted to do magnet traction but couldn't get your hands on magnet braid.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Luff, did you have a suggestion in that regard?
With magnet racing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried that, and it worked great as long as you didn't modify the cars.
Yeah.
As soon as you did anything with the tires or the gearing, it would override the magnet.
Yeah.
And then you have to go to a bigger piano wire, and it just gets to be a nightmare.
Kind of like any magnet racing, you start increasing.
We tried it for a while. We had 7 or 8 cars running on a 2-lane track.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of your videos for the magnetic racing stuff. That was interesting.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right.
I still got everything in a box.
Doesn't come out much though, huh?
No.
All right, Mike, what do you got?
Well, I didn't have any. One of the guys has got a new job now, so he doesn't get here most of the time. But I did have something interesting. One of the guy who didn't get there last week has complained periodically about the barriers being loose. On some of the corners of the track, I've raised them on an angle with shims because it's not exactly even.
Okay.
So I've been thinking about what to do to get rid of that. And I hit upon using hot glue on the underside of the barrier to hold it in place, and then a small strip in the center to hold it kind of together, just on the corners, so that it has a more solid surface. And it surprisingly worked well, because the extension of the corner would tend to be floppy, and once you got those all together, it really solidified the whole thing, quite surprisingly. And so I'm going to do it on some of the other corners that have that as a problem, where I've raised them. Just, it's only about maybe 3/8, quarter inch at the most, just for a little bit of banking there on some of the corners. And I try to make it gradual too, so that it's, at the fastest part of the corner, it's at the highest point. But that really did make a difference. So if you flip the track over with the barrier on it, hold it even so that the top part is flat, and then run the hot glue a little bit at a time, both on each end and then once in the center, and then fill that groove that's on the Scalextric Sport track. It really works surprisingly well, because it provides a buffer for that floppiness, and it's great. So anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, hot glue is one of the few things that seems to work well on sport track.
Yeah.
As well as adhering things goes. I recommend hot glue to people who buy my inserts, the curb inserts, and they don't want to stick. Hot glue is pretty much your best bet to stick them down. And even on my flat track, the digital pieces are slightly taller because they've got the extra electronics below. So for the borders on the digital pieces, I've used paperboard shims to push the border up so that it doesn't drop below the surface of the digital track. So yeah, I totally feel you there. And yeah, hot glues are great.
Yeah. And if you want to take it apart, it does come apart. Yeah, and it's not that hard, but it's hard enough to hold it together. It's really, it was amazing to me. So it's like, whoa, this is great. So if somebody else can use it, that's great.
And did you use just regular hot melt, or did you use like high temp hot melt?
Just regular.
Yeah. Yeah. Works great. Good stuff.
Tip of the week for you right there, Greg.
Tip of the week. Yeah. Hot glue for Scalextric borders.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Mike. And let's go ahead and vote on what is going to be the prize. The suggestions that we had were one of John Kitt's body kits, the Black Arrow Ferrari 458, because Wayne really wants one, even though he's probably not going to win it. And
me neither.
And the NSR McLaren. So if you have a camera, please turn it on, because we're going to go with physical hands this time. You can vote for multiple things, right? So if you don't have to like not vote for the other two things, right? So I'm basically going to go with the thing that has the most votes, right? So you can actually vote for all three, but that would be silly. Vote for the one that you want to be the prize, but if you'd be okay with two of them being the prize, vote for both of them. That's fine. Okay. So turn your camera on. I want to see hands waving at the camera if you want one of John Kitt's body kits to be the prize. Keep those hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I count 12, 13. Thanks, Brian. All right, 13 for one of John Kitt's body kits. And the next one to wave your hand for, if you want it to be a prize, is the Black Arrow Ferrari 458. If you want that to be a prize, wave your hand. Keep them waving or hold it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Only 11 for Black Arrow. Sorry, Wayne, that's probably not going to be the one. And then finally, the NSR McLaren. If you want that to be the prize, hold up or wave your hand, and I'll count them. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so it looks like John Kitt's body kit is going to be the prize, and we'll work that out.
Okay, so how did that happen?
Apparently, People are really enthused about your body kits, so somebody's going to
It's the price of fame.
I better start working out.
All right.
Love you, John.
So we still need to determine, and we've only got 10 to 15 minutes left here anyway. So let's go ahead.
Well, hold on. If you have 100, I can do all three, and then you can have 3 prizes.
Okay, so we'll do all 3, 2 Porsches and 1 Chappie. Is that what it is? So
Yep.
The Porsche 935, the Chaparral 2G.
Yep.
And then what was the other Porsche?
The Porsche 356.
356. So we got 3 kits for the winning. So there will be 3 winners. The top 3 people of the randomized order of entrance will be the winners. International. What do they need to put into the comments of the YouTube video below in order to enter for that prize? Anybody got any suggestions, John?
Okay, I'm going to be really selfish here. How about Fast Sports, my channel? Is that fair?
That works for me. Fast Sports. All one
I
word.
was just going to suggest Slot Car Corner, but that's a good one.
Well, since it's going to be John Kits Body Kits, we'll do Fast Sports. So
there you go.
In your comment to enter this contest, whether you know you're entering the contest or not, if your comment includes the word Fast Sports, does it have to be 1 word or 2 words?
2 words. 2 words. Yeah.
2 separate words. Fast Sports. Put them in any order you want. Be clever. Be funny. Have fun. And you will be entered for the John Kits Body Kits contest. Again, 3 winners, 1 each of the Porsche 935, Porsche, the other thing I can't remember, and
356, 356,
and Chaparral 2G. And let's
Come on, Greg. I'm the one with the memory issue.
Oh, good. Don't even go there. And we're gonna say it's in that order. So the number 1 person on the randomized list next week when we do the randomizing, top 1 is gonna get the 935, second is gonna get the 356, and third is gonna get the Chaparral. Sucks to be you if you win something you don't want. So
well, we can trade, can't we?
Trade afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah, you can trade with that. Yeah.
So just for the fun of it, with magnetic racing, we had a couple of guys that were not wanting what they won. If you want a different thing, and the person who won that thing is okay with the thing, with doing the swap, I'll make that happen.
I don't know. Why is everybody a gift horse dentist? I don't get it.
Anyways, we'll figure it out next week.
We love free.
We love free things, and I love to give away things. So we still got 10 minutes left to waste. Mike, you still got your hand up. Did you mean to leave it up?
Oh, no, I did not.
All right, I'll put
Sorry.
it down for you.
Way to go, Mike.
The floor is open. We've already talked about the thing that I threw on my topic list. Dewan is putting up a hand. What's up, Dewan?
I kind of had a basic question on Carrera magnetic.
No, forget it. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Carrera digital racing, not Carrera digital racing. So I know that you can go to 4-lane digital racing, and I know that the current limit on a typical 2-lane track is 6 cars. If you do 4 lanes and have two base units, it's still limited to the 6 cars. Is that correct?
Yeah. The thing is that you could conceivably have 2 parallel nested tracks of 6 cars each, but you could not have them crisscrossing over to one another. There's no way to coordinate 2 entirely separate race management systems to coordinate the 2 tracks into one actual race.
So the only solution to go beyond that 6 would be with oxygen right now.
Or Scorpius Wireless is 24 cars. Oxygen is 20 cars. SCX Digital Advanced is 9 cars, I think.
But using a Carrera track?
Well, that's more complicated. But yeah, if you wanted to use Carrera hardware, Carrera track.
24 cars at one time.
Supports 24 cars. And
I have a hard enough time watching one car on one lane.
So digital's not for Frank. Now that we
put
it on our list, digital's not for Frank. But yeah, I'm not personally a fan of doing more than 2 lanes for a 6-car digital set, because the whole point is traffic and passing, and 4 lanes just makes it more like analog. So what's the point? But if you wanted to do it, Carrera is one of the few companies, other than Scorpius or Oxygen, that enables you to do a multi-lane track. They provide an accessory called I think it might be just called multi-lane lap counter or something like that. But they basically provide an accessory that provides additional sensors for lap counting in additional lanes. So you still need to make sure that the power from the single control unit gets from the primary 2 lanes to your additional 2 lanes. But one of the more common ways to accomplish more lanes than your typical 2 lane is by expanding to 4 lanes after the power base and contracting again to 2 lanes prior to the power base using, lane splitters or pit lanes or whatever like that. But yeah, if you're going to do a big track and you want a lot of cars.
Does anyone have experience of splitting 2 lanes to 4 for digital racing? Because we did it.
Yeah.
We did it. And what did you find, Greg? Did you find people didn't bother with the extra 2 lanes?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we found. It's a bit of a pointless exercise.
Yep.
Well, Wayne, what about the Disco Le Mans race? Isn't that 4 lanes?
Yeah, but it's 20.
It's 4 lanes throughout.
Yeah, but it's up to 20
Yeah.
cars. Usually they only do 12 or 15 or 16 cars, but it's a lot more cars. So it makes sense to have more lanes because you got a lot more cars. But if you only got 6 cars,
it's part of the strategy to choose a lane that you prefer to lap in.
Yeah. And then you get out of that lane in order to pass somebody and get back into that lane once you're done. And yeah, so the one track that I've raced on that had 2 lanes at the power base and then split out to 4 lanes and then back in, I just never bothered with the other lanes because it didn't provide.
Yeah, what happened with us, we had a main straight that was, you could go out to 4 lanes, but unfortunately it wasn't long enough for you to complete a pass before you got back in. You got naturally put back in by the track design. Yeah. So we extended the 4-lane section around 2 more corners, and we still found that people didn't really bother with the alternate lanes, because by the time you'd gone through the changes to get out to them, and then gone through the turns that would put you back into the center 2 lanes at the other end of the complex, let's call it. It was the straight, but it was 2 corners as well. You still didn't, you had so much difficulty. You must have experienced it where you've done a lane change to pass a car, and then you find yourself a yard behind the car that you were once to put 6 inches, 10 inches behind. And then you have to stay in that lane for more than a lap to get the pass done before you can get back into your preferred lane again. So there wasn't enough of the track that was 4-lane to achieve a pass in the 4-lane section before you had to go through the difficulty of getting back in again.
One thing I've seen that I like the idea of, though I've never done it in practice. There's a track nearby where he's done a very, very large 4-lane Carrera track. It's so large that I couldn't remember. I couldn't get into any flow because there was no the track. The lap was so long and so many turn combinations that I couldn't really get into a flow. But he set it up so that it's 4 lanes analog, and then the inside 2 lanes were digital. So if you wanted to run a digital race, then you would actually only run 2 lanes. It's the same layout, same 2 lanes that the 4-lane analog is on, but only 2 of the lanes.
Simultaneously, 2 separate races at the same time.
Yeah. So you're not doing analog and digital at the same time. You're not separate doing races. And you're not doing 2 digital races at the same time. You're just doing either 6-car digital on 2 lanes or 4-car analog on all 4 lanes, which is clever. A nice way to kind of cover all the bases. And it's just the track was just enormous. I haven't posted a video of it. I probably should go ahead and post a video of it, but I was at one end of the track taking video of some of the racing, some of the analog racing, and you could not see the other end of the track to see what was happening at the other end of the track. It was just a blur of track, and it was just too far in the distance to actually see what would happen on the track.
Were the drivers elevated to be able to get advantage of?
No, they were just standing on the floor, and the track was at your typical kind of table height kind of thing. It wasn't a bad, I raced on it. It wasn't a bad viewpoint for the drivers. It's because they were on the long side. They were right in the middle of the long side, so none of them were too far from either end, really. But yeah, if you're on one end, you're not really going to see much racing at the other end of the track.
You see, we run our Le Mans race on a very, very large track, but it hasn't got a huge number of turns. So you can find you can learn the lap and find the rhythm. The problem that you experience, it sounds like, is not being able to learn the lap because it's just so complex and so, you know, so much detail to it. And yeah, you'd have to learn it in sectors, wouldn't you? You'd have to focus on a particular combination and learn your favorite way through that, and then move your focus to somewhere else. And until you've done it enough,
yeah,
it'd be quite a difficult thing.
It took me a while to kind of get to a point where I thought I could do it from start to finish without having to relearn every single turn. So yeah, I did kind of focus on individual sections, getting through that part of the track quickly, and then I would, you know, turn my focus and learn another part of the track. And yeah, it was, you know, I think the total, I forget, so I'm just kind of guessing off the top of my head what the actual footprint of the track was, but it was probably like 12 by 30. I mean, it was just absolutely enormous. And it was not a big open track like the Disco Le Mans was. It was all, you know, in and folded in and stuff. So you're going in and around and up and down, and you know,
not a 4-second track.
It wasn't a plate of spaghetti, fortunately. Otherwise, I'd have just turned right around and left out the door that I came in. But there was one overpass which was tricky because he used the Carrera, you know, hump bridge overpass pieces. So you got to go slow, not to just go launching off of them. And then at the other end, when you're going down, you got to go slow, not to just go straight off the end of them. And then there's a turn right after the downhill part of that. But yeah.
How do you marshal a thing like that then?
What was that?
How do you marshal a thing like that?
It was very difficult. He had a lot of really long grabber tools. And it was tricky because there were only 6 of us there. So 4 guys were on the track racing, and there were only 2 guys to be, you know, at either end of the track or wherever they thought the optimum place would be to pick up most of the crashers.
Yeah. So it was going to crash and burn then.
It was not crash and burn. It was we were putting them back on, but it was, you know, you crash, buddy, you're going to be waiting a little while before you get
okay, then. So it was crashing and crisped to a black thing, but not quite burnt.
Crash and dash your teeth.
Crash and run.
Crash. Yeah, we've done crash and dash before. That's a whole different thing. All right. Well, we're at the end of our 2-hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the conversation here. You can watch the recording, and if you're at a live chat, you can actually stick around and chat longer. I'm going to grab lunch. These guys are going to chat for another 2 or 3 hours, and we'll keep talking about slot cars. Until then, now's the time to wave. Bye.
Take care, everyone.